Hi, welcome to episode 28 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. This is Sunday, February 22nd, and I am your host, Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode's show notes will be, and I have an Etsy shop, The Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my hand-spun yarn and hand-woven scarves. We also have a group over on Ravelry, The Corner of Knit and Tea, and if you haven't joined us already over there, please think about it. We have some knit-alongs and some chat, and it's just kind of a fun place to hang out on Ravelry. So welcome! I hope you've had a wonderful week. I actually had a couple days off this week. On Monday, I had President's Day holiday in the United States, and then on Tuesday I went to a bunch of different doctor's appointments and had some time to knit and read in between at a coffee shop, which was just fabulous. I got tons done this week and had a great time doing it. The weather has been a little bit up and down. We've had some snow and some super cold, and yesterday got up to almost 50 degrees and it was beautiful, and today we're back down into the 20s, so we're kind of huddling up inside, and my husband and I are deciding if we're going to even venture out of the house. He's not feeling great, so we might actually just stay in today. So that's kind of what's going on in our little corner of the world. I have some exciting announcements and upcoming knit-alongs, but I will save those for towards the end of the podcast. So let's get started on our normal what we're doing for this week. So first off, I have what I'm drinking. It is a blackberry fruit tea by T. Geschwender. And I have probably drunk this one before on the podcast. This was a gift from my sister last year. It is a fruit tea with apple pieces, hibiscus, rose hips, elderberries, blackberries, and natural flavor. I believe it is a decaf because it is a herbal tea. It's all fruit. And I am drinking it in my mug from Roxy that says, "I love Aunt Laura." So this is blueberry tea from T. Geschwender. I know they do have a storefront in Chicago, which is where my sister got the tea, but they also have a great online shop, so you can easily order some tea if you're interested. All the links for it will be in the show notes. So, and that is delicious. I have drunk that before and really, really enjoy that. So that is what I'm sipping this week, which brings me to what I'm wearing, which is also my finished object for the week. I told you last week that I was really, really hoping to crank out the rest of Alina, and I did. So it turned out absolutely enormous, which is basically what I wanted. It is a triangular shawl with rows of yarn over kind of eyelet rows, and then down at the bottom it has a great lace section, and then it's got the crochet loop bind off, which takes 1,000,001 pins to pin out and get it the way you want it, but I absolutely love it. And like I said, it is absolutely enormous. It is about 1,000 yards of Malabrigo lace weight in the colorway Teal Feather. And exactly what I wanted it for was to be able to wrap it around my neck as such and wear it under a coat. I have another shawl that I knit a long time ago out of Malabrigo lace weight, and it is the warmest, coziest shawl for cold days, and I was looking for another. So this one fits the bill. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. I followed the pattern except for the fact that I did more eyelet rows. I continued on more repeats of that, which means that my lace border has more repeats across as you finish the petals down at the bottom. So that is finished for this week. I'm thrilled to have it off the needles and to be able to wear it. And it is nice and cozy just as I'd hoped. And actually the interesting thing is Malabrigo lace weight kind of felts a little bit if you look at it funny. It's a super, super good felter. And my last shawl is felted and fulled just a little bit through wear. And I'm actually hoping that the same thing happens to this one because it ends up being super, super warm and soft. And I think what happens is air kind of gets trapped in the pockets of the lace shawl and it keeps me super warm. I mean, even more than most scarves. So like I said, this was totally the goal for this shawl and it has met everything and I am super thrilled. So I finished that, I believe I finished this one Monday evening and blocked it. So I worked on it most of the day Monday and finished it and then, like I said, blocked it, which meant Tuesday I was kind of ready for a little bit of a new project. As I mentioned, I had a bunch of doctor's appointments and was running around town and did a midday stop in Panera for a couple hours. And I had a book on my Kindle and decided that I needed a new simple knit. So I wound up some yarn that I had been dying to wind up and cast on for a sock. And as it turns out, I had so much free time this week that I have a sock! I haven't started, I finished this one yesterday and I have not yet started the second one. The yarn is Dark Side of the Moon. It is by Mustache Sheep and actually this skein was in her OCD skeins, which is she dyes 2 skeins that are exactly the same and each of them are half skeins so that each one is perfectly set up for you to knit a sock. So I used most of the first one on this one. I was going to do all of it, but as you can see, I already have a pretty generous sock and I decided, okay, I'm not gonna go all the way to the top. So I need to wind up the second skein so that I can cast on for the second sock, and I'm actually hoping to finish it by next weekend. I don't know if that will happen or not, because it just depends on the knit time that I have this week. Again, this is my vanilla sock pattern. I use David Schultz's toe up sock recipe for the toe, and I believe Amanda, who is Wit or So Nitpicky over at Not a Podcast, talked about her favorite method. The deal with this toe is that you increase every round for a few rounds and then you increase every other round, so you get a really rounded toe. Just knit on the foot regular. Did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is one of my favorite heels, and then went ahead and knit the leg, and as I got a little bit further up, added a little bit of calf shaping so that I would have, just added a few extra stitches so that I would have a little extra room for my calves, and then a 1x1 rib at the top for, it looks like, just a little bit under 2 inches. So that is sock number 1 complete, and hopefully I will finish sock number 2 this week and have rainbow stripy socks to wear. So that brings me to the last knit for the week, and I know you know what I'm gonna say. It is my Leftovers Cowl by Wendy Johnson. It is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. I believe it is $6. I am using leftovers of sock yarn, mostly from my own stash, but I have had a couple generous donations from friends, so I have a few of their yarns in here as well. I finished my 8th section this week, as you remember, if you've been watching or counting along with me, or if you're not completely sick of this project. The project has 12 sections, and I am using the charts provided for part of them, and then I am making up some of my own charts for part of them. And 8 out of 12 sections means I am 2/3 of the way through the project. I'm super excited, which means I only have a couple more weeks left. And I am also now coming up on this coming week a section of my own design, and I really like those. But for this week, I will show you. I believe when I left off last week, we were at the double blue, which is a little hard to see, section, but I did the triangle section with some gray and red, and then I did the kind of chevron-y section with some purple and white, And I did another triangle section, which is interesting because the colors are super close, and actually after I did it, I thought, wow, I shouldn't have picked those, but on here they actually come out a little different. It is kind of a yellowy brown and some purple. And then I have another section with black and some bright red, green and purple triangles. And then I have two pinks, one that's kind of salmony and one that's very pale. And then I have blue with a little bit of orange. So that is this week's section. And like I said, 8 out of 12. So I am 2/3 of the way there, which means I won't be doing this that much longer. I have actually, I still love this project. I am having a fabulous time with the color work and want to knit all the color work things now. But I am looking forward to being able to wear this and to finish the project because I have several other projects that I want to do, and actually even some that involve the rest of my sock yarn scraps, but I'd like to wait until I finish this before I figure out, so that I know which ones I have left and which ones I still want to use. So I am going to work on a section of my own this week, and I will be showing that to you next week. So that is the Leftovers cowl. And you will only have a few more weeks to watch that. So I promise I will soon be finished, and then we'll move on to other projects, and you won't have to see this one every single week. Promise. So that brings me over to spinning. Last week I showed you a beautiful bat by Into the World. It was a Falkland bat, and the title, or the name of it, was End of Innocence, and I had picked it up at Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival last year in person, and I decided that I wanted to try and do a 2-ply gradient. So I broke the bat up kind of vertically, and tried to make 2 equal sections so that when I spun them and then plied them together, it would do a gradient through all the colors. And actually, I got pretty much everything that I wanted from it. This is the finished product. It's orange into red, into a dark purple, into a light purple, into white, and into green, and I was able to maintain most of the sections. I do not know exactly what the measurements are. My guess is between 250, 75, and 300 of probably a sport to maybe DK weight, and it is super squishy. It is Falkland. It is soft. And I think it would make a great little shawlette or some kind of project where you would use the whole skein, because it would let you go through all of the colors. So I am super pleased with how that turned out. That will be up in my shop later today if that appeals to you. And that is the Into the World Falkland bat, and I spun it, like I said, as a gradient. So that brings me to what I will be spinning this week. I went through the bin of fibers that I had picked out, and picked out this beautiful braid by On the Round. This is her label. She's got a shop on Etsy. It is Blue-Faced Leicester, approximately 4 ounces. It does not have a colorway name, it just has a number. So I will show you its purples and greens and little bits of yellow and reds and areas of white where it goes into pink, and you've got blues. So it's just a real pretty braid. I expect it will be a little bit speckled once I spin it up. And I am looking forward to spinning this up this week. It is super soft, feeling it here. So that is On the Round Hand-Dyed Roving. And the link to her shop will be in the show notes. So this is like a record short episode, but I do have a few other things to discuss. We did finish the Selfish Craft Along. And congratulations to the prize winners, who were Mikey Jr., Vinka Kent, and let me think about this, who was the third winner? Alita Casey. So those prizes are gone in the mail, and I believe most of them have been received already. So like I said, congratulations to those winners. In the last podcast episode, I asked everyone what they might want to do for future knit-alongs. And one of the things that came up out of that, and I apologize because I cannot remember and I forgot to look up who suggested it, one lovely group member suggested a hat along, which I thought was a really great project. So for March 1st to March 31st, if you want to knit along with us, if you want to craft along with us, we are doing a hat along. That means you can knit, crochet, I suppose you could weave fabric and make yourself a hat. And all you need to do, or anyone else a hat, really, baby hats would be fine as well. Just go ahead and knit those and post a finished object. I will start a thread over on Ravelry. You will post a photo of your finished object. You may enter as many times as hats you knit. As before, I'm not super big on rules. If you have something that was already cast on, you can go ahead and enter that. Please, however, don't enter things that are like basically finished except for ends being woven in. You should actually do some portion of the knitting in March. So that's my only request there. I did have a suggestion to do something green, to do something green for March for St. Patrick's Day. If you want to make your hat green, that is absolutely great. I decided not to necessarily theme the entire knit along for that, but I just thought I would mention that. The second idea that came out of it, which I think is a little bit more for intrepid knitters, and I did not want to scare anyone off from participating, so this will be a little bit more informal knit along, was Liz, who is Liz FM on Ravelry and also is the travel correspondent over on the Come Knit With Us podcast. Liz said that she wants to do a pie shawl this year and cast on Pi Day, which is March 14th, 2015, which is 3/14/15. And I thought that sounded like a great idea, and I have been dying to do a pie shawl for a while now. A pie shawl being a circular shawl that increases according to a certain formula based on the number or the value of pie. There are a large number of pie shawls on Ravelry. There is the Elizabeth Zimmerman pie shawl from Knitting Almanac. And there are a huge number of round shawls. There are also a large number of half pie shawls, which I think would also be perfectly acceptable. And there are a number of patterns that are not necessarily knit in fingering or lace weight, as some of us are going to be knitting in. I believe the one that I'm going to do is probably going to be in fingering weight. So I just thought I would throw that out there in case there are any of you who are interested. Like I said, that will be a little bit less formal knit along because I'm not going to actually put, I probably will start a thread for it. I don't know that there will be prizes for it, and I'm not going to put any specific end date on it because we all knit at different speeds, and a pie shawl can be an undertaking of 1,000 or more yards of yarn, and so that should take us all a little while. So like I said, that is not a super formal one. The hat along will be the more formal knit along. Like I said, March 1st to March 31st. I will have a few prizes for that. So start thinking about what kinds of hats you might want to knit. But I mentioned the pie shawl. If anyone else is interested in casting on and celebrating Pi Day this year, we can go ahead and do that. So I've been thinking about hat possibilities, and it may not surprise you to learn. It may not surprise you that I am thinking about doing a colorwork hat. So one of the ones that I'm thinking about is, I think it's pronounced Snowhide, and it's by Kate Davies, and it is a hat with snowflakes on it. So I'm thinking about that. And then there is also a recent new collection that was published by Claire Devine called the Tea Collection. And it is a number of hats and scarves that are named for teas, and there is a great hat called Lapsang, and it is a bulky, slightly lace and cable weight hat, and that one looks really wonderful, and so I may try and knit that one. But those are my ideas. I will come back and show you some pictures and whatnot next Sunday, which actually will be March 1st, so we'll be ready for cast on. So I believe that's all I have for today. I hope you've had a wonderful week crafting and you're looking forward to a great week ahead. If you have any questions for me or comments, please leave them here on this video, or come on over to the Ravelry group and join us for knit-alongs and chat, and you can always leave me a message there as well. And I guess I will say for now, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time.